Welcome back to Five Friday Feedback, listener. You ever feel like you're just losing your money the moment it comes in, it's gone?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And today we're here to put you back in control so that doesn't
Let's
feel like anymore.
go. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. We're also going to give some specific advice to the more than 3 million Mint users, since Intuit recently announced that they were getting rid of Mint entirely and moving over to Credit Karma. They at first supposed to be January 1, but now they've moved it back to March 23rd due to the revolt that we had as
The
people of
revolution's
finance.
picking up steam.
Yeah.
We're coming back.
We're going to win it.
Sign up for Mint now.
Go sign
Do
up
it
for
now.
Mint.
Damn. Yeah, I used to use Mint. I still use Mint as of today.
Yeah, as of today.
It's not shut down yet. Don't you love when things you love just get shut
Yeah,
down?
when it gets taken away from you for no reason, after all that you've done for them.
Dude, I used to go to this buffet when I was younger. Furs. Do you remember those?
I've never heard of that.
Never heard of that? It was awesome. They shut it down.
How dare they?
How dare they? Anyway, yeah, you can tell I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Last pod is about snacks for me. This pod is
It's
straight
going to be a
buffet.
true meal.
Yep.
I'm kind of hungry too. I'll have to eat after this. But just like on Monday's pod, we're going to recap everything. And by the end of today's pod, hopefully you're going to get a recap of what we talked about in that pod. And number one, we're going to talk about the importance of budgeting and tracking.
Yes.
We're going to talk about some of the best tools for financial optimization that the Fi guys have actually gone through. We reviewed some of the biggest tools out there so that you don't have to. We're going to give you some proven tactics for setting up your financial system, some tips and tricks for overcoming the inevitable challenges that are going to come, and then we're going to have a finish off with the 2 essential questions you're going to ask yourself once you've actually tracked your budget to see, what am I optimizing for? Am I living with intention?
Absolutely. And getting on to segment 1, Chris, why is tracking my spending? What does that matter?
I think it's really crucial to track your spending, not only for just the knowledge of having that base, but that way you can actually say, like, you can look back. It really gives you an ability to look back and say, like, this is how much I spent. Am I happy with that? Mm-hmm. And if you are, great. Keep on doing it. If you're not, it gives you ability to course correct sooner rather than later. So many of us, we go through life kind of in this fog, spending, doing whatever. And then eventually you kind of wake up and you're like, oh, shoot, how did I end up here? Am I even happy? Do I want to be here? By being able to spend and track, it gives you a time where you get to look back, kind of a scheduled time to look back and see, am I happy with what I'm doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to be, up creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
There's an explicit version of that quote, but I'm not going to say it.
I'll say it, but no, it's okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's budgeting and then there's spending tracking.
Mm-hmm.
We also talked a little bit about that.
We did, and I kind of said that I know budgeting has such a negative connotation, right? And so many people that hear budgeting, they're like, oh, Chris and Dom don't want me to spend money. They're trying to just say, like, pinch every penny and just be sad all the time. And I've lived that life before, and I agree. That's the reason I'm not a big fan of budgeting either. I set like wide goals, and like I want to only spend $7,000 a month. And like if I spend more than that, then whatever. But like that's my goal. But it's not like it's a lose it or lose it. If I go above that, then I'm a failure. If I go below that, then I'm a winner.
Yeah.
But I think with budget, it like really establishes very specific targets, so that we're aligning our spending with those targets. And like I said, life is so fluid that when we create everything being so specific, when things go out of whack, it kind of feels like the whole system is doomed to fail.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, it's important to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's so important with the tracking, with the budgeting, is just getting a better picture, an honest picture of what's actually happening in your financial landscape.
Yeah, and that's interesting. The budgeting, right? The budgeting is you're looking at what you're going to spend and you're trying to automatically curtail that beforehand.
Yeah.
The spending tracking is it's already happened. So it's much more passive and reactive, and it's more of a reactive approach. We see what did we actually spend our money on? Then we get to look back a week later, a month later, 2 weeks later, and say, was the spending that I did, was that in line with my core values? Is that in line with what I want to do? For myself, for me and my wife, Bryn, this is what we do. We do spending tracking. We still use a budget, like I'll put it in air quotes, like rough budget of like, this is how much we want to spend. But if we go over that, totally cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's totally fine. Then we just get to look at it and say, like, is our budget too low for what we want in our life? And are we willing to raise the budget, knowing that if we raise the budget, it's going to be hard to drop that budget in the future, but also we're going to be foregoing financial independence. We're going to be foregoing other things. Instead of purchasing stuff right now, what we're wanting to really do is purchase our financial freedom.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about apps we can use.
Yep.
We talked about that in last podcast. We talked about Copilot.
Mm-hmm.
That was the winner, kind of. That was pretty much the winner of the podcast for the paid versions.
Yep.
Paid versions, Copilot. We looked at Monarch Money. We looked at Mint, RIP, rest in peace,
RIP.
man.
Yeah.
With our little money sign.
Fly bless you.
Fly bless you. Rocket Money. That was our free
winner, yep.
A free winner. Paid winner, Copilot. Free if you don't want to spend any money. Rocket Money is also a great option. We looked at Tiller HQ, YNAB, aka
The YNAB.
You Need a Budget. Yep. Simplify, which was a little bit too complex.
I couldn't figure it
come
out.
on. And your personal favorite,
Excel.
Excel spreadsheet.
That's my personal favorite, but I also realize that most people, they want automated tools nowadays. Like no one wants to do manual. I've been doing this for 6 years manually.
Yeah.
So like now it's a part of me. Like it's as much a part of me as breathing. Like it's just what you do.
Yep.
So for me, it's not difficult, but I understand for our viewers, I would say, I want you to sit there every time you make a purchase, open your phone and put it inside there. Everyone's like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And
It'd be like going to the gym and tracking your workouts or tracking your calories. It's like, that's why it's so hard.
Yeah.
People don't want to do it.
And I get that. So why not find some ways? So yeah, if you want to do it, I recommend Copilot if you're willing to pay for it. If you're not willing to pay for it, then Rocket Money is a good one. I will still say that like Monarch Money is definitely my second option.
Okay.
If I didn't want to go Copilot. Copilot is better for people who work on a desktop or work on iOS and Mac. I would say that Monarch are for people who work on Android.
Android, yeah.
So
It's cutting out a lot of people.
Yeah, so maybe go whatever way.
Yeah.
Monarch, Copilot, you're probably going to get the same exact thing. I like Copilot a little bit better. I found more optimization that way. Different strokes, man.
What I found is there's a little bit more information about Copilot as well. Like when you search up Copilot, there's like a lot of stuff on it.
Okay.
Which I like. But yeah, I mean, we also talked about Elements for the people who are under the Monzon Wealth clientele list. You know, they're in that special club,
Yeah.
aka Monzon Wealth, aka sponsor of the podcast, aka that's
This
the last
guy.
one. That guy, yeah. Shout out to Chris. If you want to get access to Elements, if you want to talk about Elements real quick.
Yeah, Elements, it's not really a true tracking app in that it's tracking every single transaction on every single card. Maybe it's going to move in that direction. I did talk with the CEO of the company, or not the CEO, but like the head person of the company recently, and they said they were thinking about bringing that in, but it does kind of take away from what the real purpose is.
Yeah.
And the real purpose is to track your overall net worth and your overall financial health. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people, what I find is when you ask them, like, how are you doing financially? They're like, good, fine.
I don't know.
I don't know. And it's not a quantifiable question. You know, you can't be doing like a 10 on your finances. You really can't be doing a 2. It's hard. But this Elements is the best thing that I found from a financial planning software that is able to kind of quantify that and give you a rough scorecard or like a letter grade.
Yeah.
But it really focuses on 4 questions for those seeking financial independence. Number 1 is, am I taking the right amount of risk with my investments?
Yeah.
Number 2 is, am I using my income wisely? This is what we're talking about here with the budget tracking.
Exactly.
Number 3, do I have the right mix of assets? Most budgeting tracking softwares, they're only looking at your investment accounts, your savings account.
Yeah.
But Elements is really cool in that it's also able to look at your debt rate. It's able to look at your taxes. It's able to look at your real estate holdings. Because someone's investment portfolio, what's going to achieve them to fly oftentimes isn't just a bank account and one investment account.
No.
It's a bunch of different things.
Yep.
And then the 4th and final question, which is the most important question, is how much wealth do I need in order to be financially independent, in order to make work optional for me moving forward? And that's something that my clients are able to sit there and play with that app and say, oh, like I can be financially independent if I was to maybe drop my spending by a month,
yeah.
by $1,000 a month, $500 a month, and I could bring that 6 years forward.
Yeah.
Or I could, if I wanted to bring it up right now, it's going to push me back this lot much, but then later on I can turn it on and start to save more. What does that mean for me? Because too many financial planning tools, they focus on in 20, 30 years, where am I going to be? But no one really cares about that. They care about, what can I do right now? Can I afford a house right now? Can I, speaking from like personal experience, can I take a step back from working to start a side hustle? And like, how long do I have before I have to go back to work?
Yeah.
If I have a kid, can I have time to be there with them in their first 2 years?
Yes. It's so true.
Yep.
It's so true. That's a good app, and it's unfortunately, but fortunately, it's for your clients.
Yep.
So if you want to reach out, if you want financial advisory, help services, check out this guy.
And coaching. That's
And
one
coaching.
That's one of the biggest things I think that I do. There's so many good advisors out there that do a lot of the same things, but one thing that I can say that separates me from other advisors is I'm really going to focus with you on your money mindset and really bringing the habits and the systems into place rather than just talking about the correct allocation for your investment accounts. Like you can get that from really anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the separation from anyone else. But what I will do is really try to help you to connect your values with how you're spending your money and give you those assessments and give you that accountability.
Yeah.
So many people say they want to be better with finances, but
their habits don't represent it.
yeah, nothing changes, nothing changes.
Nothing changes if nothing changes. So yeah, if you want to reach out to Chris, check out his website.
Yeah, Monzon Wealth, whatever you want to do.
Monzonwealth.com. It's in the description. But moving on to segment number 3, that what we talked about in Monday's podcast, making sure that the categories are set up correctly in the budget app of your choosing.
Yeah. So whatever one you want to choose, if you choose Monarch, you choose Rocket,
Copilot,
whatever. None of them are perfect. Not a single one. You can't go inside there and like spend some money at, I don't know, Target or Walmart, and it's going to like automatically be like, oh, you spent this much money on makeup, but this much money on groceries at Target. It doesn't know that.
It just knows the final number.
It just knows that you spent money at Target, and it's going to do its best to auto-categorize that. But it's still up to you to go inside there and see what can I do to make sure that I'm actually getting accurate numbers, because without those semi-accurate numbers, it's really hard to make the decisions. But it's a dichotomy here, right? In that you want to make sure it's accurate, but you want to make it so complex that you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, complexity really is, how would I say that?
Complexity is the enemy of
Progress.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you make it too complex, you're never going to do it. So the way that I started my personal one that I use is essential versus non-essential. Then eventually I grew that to like eating out, animals, groceries, personal items, gas, etc. All those things were built out over time.
Yep.
But what I would first say, if you're getting started, essential versus non-essential, and that also gives you an ability to look at what is your FI number. You can know what your like true FI number is if you wanted to like live lean for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Kind of beans and rice, which I wouldn't recommend, but it gives you that number. You can shoot for a lower number. Once you get there to that lower number, you can now choose, do I want to shoot for a higher number?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Dude, imagine how cool it would be though if it could break it down even further. Like I go to like we were talking about last podcast. You go to Costco. You pick up some blankets. Well, that's a grocery store, for the most part. So it categorizes as grocery. But imagine how cool it would be if you'd be like, no, this is a necessity purchase. This is a frivolous purchase. This is essential. Like it broke it down like even crazier.
And
I wish.
if you wanted to, if you wanted to open up your own app, and that's the reason I still use Excel. I still use a Google Doc because me and my wife do it. But if I wanted to, I can take every receipt and sit there and do that. But I know at the end of the day, my time is far more valuable than sitting there and like reading over a receipt and categorizing everything. Yeah. So if something ends up inside the wrong place, like say my wife bought makeup at Target and it ends up in groceries.
Yeah.
Well, I know at some point something else is going to kind of come out. Maybe in our discretionary items, we're going to purchase something that is for the house. It was necessary.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. What really matters is that we're looking at our spending. It prompts the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that I like to do it manually, is that every week my wife and I get to sit down now and we get to talk about it.
Yeah.
And say, like, how did we spend our money? Are we happy with that? We do it every week. I'm definitely not recommending that.
Gotcha.
Well, we're doing a lot more traveling than most people are. I'm running my own business. Like, things are a little bit different for us. We don't really have that steady income as most people do to be like, this is what we need to do.
Yeah. We also talked about the most important part, almost, I would say. The why of it. Why do we take time tracking?
And what are the real benefits of tracking? And I think the biggest benefit is the insight that you gain from tracking. The insight into your own habits, your own beliefs, your own thought processes, and is the money that you're spending actually lining up with what you say? Because there's so many people who say, I want to save money. I want to be better with my finances. I want to invest. I want to do all these things. But if you actually look at your true habits, and your true habits are what you're spending money on, most of the time, it is not aligned.
Yeah.
And that can either be conscious or unconscious.
I think it's important that you take a look at not just finance, but like every aspect of your life.
Yep.
I know we're in the new year, and I think it's super important to look at your habits. Some people want to be healthy, they want to be fit. well, what are you having for dinner every night? Like, how are you preparing? Preparation happens the night before. And we're still sick, by the way. Sorry, guys. What next week?
Next week will be
Next week we'll get over it. And we have a great pod next week. We'll talk about that. But no, I mean, I think budgeting and, tracking are so important because it gives you the opportunity to know what's actually going on.
Yep.
You wouldn't, to make the most quality decision, you have to have the right information. And it starts with actually seeing what's actually going on. Like you were telling last podcast, you had someone that, I don't remember the relation, but they were saying that they spend $300 on going out to eat every week.
Every month.
Every month, yeah, when the actual number was 3,000. And the difference in choices were, well, because they didn't know, they were having trouble saving for a home. They couldn't get into a home because they were spending too much on going out to eat, and they just didn't realize it. They didn't realize it, and it's life changing.
And once they realize it, they're able to now make a conscious decision of, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yes. They'd rather have the home than the food.
Yeah, and it's really right now the book that I'm reading, it's called Be Useful by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of my heroes.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of my heroes.
The governor.
The governor. When I was growing up, he was like the governor.
Was that like your happiest time?
No, it was a good time though.
Okay.
I remember one thing I didn't like about him is back then in California, every Friday in like every school, your lunch was a McDonald's double cheeseburger.
What?
Yep. I'm not joking. Like that was real.
Because of Arnold?
No.
Oh, it was just.
And then Arnold took it away. McDonald's had somehow infiltrated the California school system and said like, everyone deserves a Happy Meal on Friday.
Oh, that's cute. That's kind of cute if they weren't garbage.
Yeah, but then when Arnold Schwarzenegger came in took over, he's like, no, and he stopped that. I remember in middle school when he did that, I was like, no,
damn it,
my McDonald's.
It's funny that you say that because when I was in high school, a little off topic, but first week of high school, this was like tradition from my mom would treat me, right? So first week of high school, I would always get what they would call hot lunch. You eat lunch at the cafeteria. And it was so awesome. I loved it. It was great. Oh man, we had amazing food. We would have like mac and cheese, and I don't drink soda. Remember, I still don't drink soda that much. So when I do drink soda, it's like a treat. It's a huge experience for me. I get really excited. And I remember the first week of school, they would give us, included with our meals, like a big, large soda. You could go to the fountain, whatever you wanted. I would always get root beer. It would be the highlight of my day. And then Michelle Obama started going after the fat kids. And I apparently was in the crossfire. And now we got these little freaking 8-ounce cups. I'm like, what is this cheese?
I know.
I was so sad.
It's sad, but looking back, you're like, thank you.
Yeah, it was probably,
thank you for protecting me from myself.
I'm still pissed at it. I'm still mad. I stay mad, stay angry. But I don't even drink soda.
I know.
So it doesn't really matter to me, but...
And where I was going with the whole be useful thing, and I don't remember. We really got off topic.
Totally hijacked totally hijacked it. But be useful. Yes, carry on. Be useful.
In Arnold Schwarzenegger's new book, when he's talking, he talks about so many things, but one of the things that he really talked about is sometimes the best thing to do is to not to think. Mm-hmm. You think beforehand. You say I want to track my money. I want to work out. I want to do these things. Now you just do, and
Mm-hmm.
there is no really good habit. There's no tip. There's no trick. Just freaking do it. And don't think about it. Because unfortunately, if you say tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to work out. If you wake up and then you start to think, and I've kind of talked to you about, there's a little analogy of your brain is the perfect lawyer who knows every single argument that's going to win, knows every single thing. And if you give the lawyer a chance to start to argue to you when you're still in bed, why you should stay in bed, why you shouldn't get out. If you have that little lawyer start to argue, well, you probably should spend the money here at Target because you really want it.
Yeah.
That little lawyer knows every single thing about you. It's the perfect algorithm.
Yeah.
He knows everything to say. So sometimes the best thing to do is not to listen to the lawyer and just do whatever the hell you said you were going to do. Yeah. If I'm going to save money, if I'm not going to spend money, if I'm going to wake up and want to work out, there is no thought. I just do.
Yeah.
And obviously you don't want to just always do all the time. But
Yeah.
if you put some forward thought and said, this is what is best for my life, then just do it.
Yes.
It's kind of like David Goggins, that she says, you just freaking do it.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That inner lawyer talks to you a lot in the morning, doesn't he?
Every morning.
4 a.m. with the cold plunge.
Every morning I wake up. alarm goes off at 4:30 if I don't wake up.
Yeah.
It wakes up. Yeah, it goes. I have a little sleep app that like it kind of like
It's like a
goes off
gentle.
circadian rhythm
Yeah.
type of thing. So if it's not by at like 4:30 to 4:45, it'll like turn on and be like, you need to get up. And I normally wake up before that, but every morning I'm like, I could just turn it off and go back to bed.
Go back to sleep.
Especially now that it's cold out and like I know I have to walk outside, get inside the cold plate. Like it all sucks.
It sucks.
But there's that little embrace of like I get to choose to do this that sets my rest of the day up. So I always say like remember tomorrow.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I'm going to be very happy that I did that, even though right now I'm like, God, I don't want to do this. Like every part of me doesn't want to do this.
Yeah. God.
And it's the same thing when it comes to spending your tracking and getting better with your finances. Every single part of you is going to say, don't do it. Like, be happy right now.
We don't want to do it because it's not convenient.
But I think it's difficult because remember we still have like this old brain like that still like works on like think about this like 401ks, retirement, all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's happened in the last like 60 years. Before that, you basically worked till you were useless.
Yeah.
And then when you were useless, you went into a home or moved in with your kids and then you died.
Yeah.
It's only been like 60, maybe 80 years that like that's now kind of like gone by the wayside and you can retire and then live the rest of your life doing whatever the heck you want to do. So when we're trying to tell people like save money for that future date, we don't have the knowledge, we don't have the brain, we don't have any of that stuff that is ready to wait and delay the gratification till that day because everything in us evolutionarily has taught benefit right now because you don't know if you have tomorrow.
Yeah.
But luckily for most of us, especially if you listen to this podcast, statistically you do have a tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can only YOLO for so long.
That's true. That's true.
And I've had that conversation with my clients before where they're like, well, what if I die tomorrow? And then all this money I'm saving means nothing. And I'm like, okay, but what if you don't die tomorrow? What if you live till the time that you're 60 or 70 years old and now you have nothing?
Yeah.
And what's statistically more likely to happen? That you die tomorrow or that you live to 60 or 70 and have nothing?
Yeah. It's the second option.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. 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 That's so interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. We should do a podcast kind of like more on like your history of like your, not just like your financial background, but like how you became the FI guy, aka Chris, aka Monzon Wealth. I think it'd be really interesting.
You think the viewers would like that though?
We're gonna make sure they like it. We're gonna make it interesting. I'll be your hype man.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest on like talking about myself, but it could be helpful.
I think it definitely could be helpful to show them that like, you weren't always this Excel spreadsheet guy. Like you weren't always like the man. Once he was the boy, now he is the man. I think it'd be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess as I think about it more, it could show. I think last time we talked about like how a lot of like some of the like worst comment or the most vile comments we get are like people are like saying like these guys grew up rich and like mommy and daddy paid for everything. And I think if you want to say that and hold yourself back, then that's fine. But maybe sometimes it is good to see that like some people didn't come from a lot. I think it's like 80 or 90% of today's millionaires inherited $0 from their parents.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's like even higher amount of billionaires inherited literally nothing.
Yeah. Another crazy statistic, 50% of the people or the men coming out of high school believed that they would be millionaires by 25.
Good for them.
Yeah, believed. But in actuality, the like percentage of people who thought they would be millionaires by 25 that actually were millionaires at 25, it's like below 1%.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I think it's right now there are more millionaires in the world than there are people who have six packs. Like
no, there's more. I think there's more people in the world with six packs than millionaires.
I think it's the opposite.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. You want to Google it? I don't know. You can Google it.
Sure, I'll Google it.
But kind of going back to everything. Yeah. So you know what? Yeah. On Monday, let's do that. Let's do a podcast, and I'll just kind of tell my story. And what I really want people to get from that is like, you can have a growth mindset. You can get better. Yeah. It doesn't matter where you start. And I know that there's people who. I think one thing that I struggle with is. I know my life is. I had a really good life, and I worry that some people are going to be like, well, my life was harder, so why should I try? But I think it probably is important that it doesn't matter like where you start, that there is someone who had it worse than you and is doing better than you. So we can all sit there and argue. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that on Monday.
I love that. So it says, according to Elite Trader, it's statistically easier to become a millionaire than it is to have a six-pack.
So I was right.
Interesting.
There are more millionaires than there are people with six-packs.
Let's see. Which means of the U.S. population, 9% of households are millionaires. I don't know if I believe that. You think that's accurate?
Could be. 10,
Could be.
Yeah.
Which means the odds of being a millionaire are about 1 in 10. The number of Americans with six-packs are 1 in 25,000.
Okay, so even if it isn't 1 in 10 millionaires, like that's still...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's pretty wild. Good to know.
So the reason that we track our spending, that we work on all these things, is that we want to make sure that we're aligning our lifestyle with our financial goals.
100%.
And making sure that our spending is aligned with all that. We talked about it already, I think, at length, of just the importance of how much it simplifies your life. So many people are afraid of looking at their finances because they don't know what's inside that black box.
Yeah.
And they're terrified. And I would make the argument, if you're afraid to look at it, you need to look at it more. You need to look at it and keep on looking at it and keep on working on it every single day and embrace that suck of it just not feeling good until eventually it feels good.
Yeah.
I think too many people, they look at, right now this is just too hard, but they don't account that it's going to get better. Mm-hmm. They don't account that you're going to get more used to it. Things are just going to naturally get better because you're focusing on it. It would be like the first time you ever worked out or went for like a mile run. Mm-hmm. Remember the first time you ever ran a mile?
I remember the first time I squatted.
I remember the first time, every single part of that process sucked. The next day probably sucked. Like all of it sucked.
Yeah. And
then after a few months, a few weeks, a few days, a few weeks, a few months, it got easier until the point where you almost like look forward to getting to do a squat. Mm-hmm. Because I'll get to go work out and like get stronger and like find what my limits are.
Yeah.
Exact same thing with finance.
Yeah. Yeah. I say that because like the first time I started training squats was like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. That's very fresh for you then.
Yeah, it's very fresh.
Still sore.
Yeah, bro. Up here in the Five Guys cave, it's on the second floor, and let me tell you, it took me 10 minutes to get up the stairs.
Yeah.
I was like, oof. I felt like
I was wondering why you were stuck down there.
Yeah, he's like, you ready to record? And I'm just like sitting on the stairs. I'm like, yeah, yep, I'm here. Just hit the record button. I'll be there. Yeah. What was the action step for last week?
Last week's action step, and hopefully you've already been starting it, but it's to track your expenses for the next 30 days. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that if people start to do this, and whatever method you want, download Rocket Money because it's the free one. You can start doing it on a pen and paper if you want to do that. Mm-hmm. Create a Google spreadsheet or Excel spreadsheet. But for the next 30 days, really track your spending. Yeah. And maybe right now you're not categorizing, maybe you're just truly tracking to see what happens. And just kind of get 1% better every day and say like, oh, okay, well now that I'm tracking, now that I got like that under my belt, maybe I can start to add in some expense or start to add in categorization, start to make it a little bit better. 100%. I can tell you I have 6 years of my tracking software and what I've created for myself. The one at year one in 2018 when I started until right now are two very different things. The one in 2018 was like bare bones. It was just like tracking money and like, it wasn't color coded, it didn't look nice, it just kind of was. Versus what it's become something very, very nice, tracking both income and expenses and net worth. Everything's now enveloped into this thing.
That's beautiful.
It just took time to build it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go 0 to 100, but you just have to get 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, so on and so forth.
Small steps add up to a long mile.
Yep.
We can go far with small steps.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you want to start a business, right? And like we've both done this before. If you look at like the end goal of where you want the business to be, you probably will never start.
Yeah.
Because the like gap is so wide.
Yeah.
But if you just start like breaking off one thing a day, eventually you're going to realize like, oh, I'm actually a lot closer after like a year or so to what my end goal is than I thought I would ever be.
Yeah. Bingo. Just a little fun fact for the pod. Mm-hmm. Did you know that they have Excel spreadsheet world championships?
Do they really?
Yeah.
And like just people like, how fast can you do stuff?
Yeah. They'll like give them like a data set and they'll like analyze this or do this, do that.
I'm not a wizard in any way, shape, or form.
But you are pretty good though.
I'm okay at it, but there are people who are way better than me.
I'm going to the gym. Why are you at your desk? Training.
Yeah, training.
Go for the world championships of Excel spreadsheets.
Gotta win.
Throw a parade for me.
Yeah, but I think we've talked about it at length now, but the importance of budgeting is that it just really allows you to, or not budgeting, tracking.
Tracking,
tracking.
You prefer tracking.
I prefer to call it tracking. Mm-hmm. Is it really allows you to give the ability to align your spending with your overall goals. And if you really get to go back to like finding your why, you get to see, am I going to be able to meet my why with my spending? and just stop living paycheck to paycheck. Stop living in the fog.
100%. 100%. You can't live in the fog. You can barely survive in the fog.
Yeah, because unfortunately, if you live in the fog for too long, one day you're going to wake up, you're going to be out of the fog, and you're like, how the hell did I end up here?
And that's when you realize you're in a hole.
And you
A
want
big
to be,
hole.
and by tracking and maybe starting today, you'll be able to figure it out a lot sooner
Yes.
when the hole is still like a divot rather than when it's a full blown, like, I'm 6 feet under, I need to figure this out.
Agreed. Absolutely. With that being said, is that all for the recap?
I believe so.
You believe so? I think it's time.
For some Five Friday feedback,
Five Friday feedback with the Five Guys.
viewer mailbag.
Viewer mailbag with the Five Guys on Friday. Alrighty, it is Five Friday feedback, viewer mailbag time. It is my favorite time of the week where we get a letter from the community and read it and see if they have some advice, some wisdom. I mean, you could just tell us whatever, really. We do love getting your letters.
Yeah.
Emails, really. We're not really accepting letters, but you get what we're saying. It does say letter here, though.
It does say letter.
It does say letter. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's get right into it. Howdy, Chris and Dom.
Oh, don't forget the title.
I will not forget the title, aka CD. Our initials are CD. You know this?
Nice.
Stupid things in my mind just goes through. Anyway, what role does budgeting play in helping you simplify your life? That's the title of today's letter.
Okay.
Lately, I've been acutely aware of my tendency to overspend, resulting in a bit more consumer debt than I'm comfortable with. While it's not an astronomical amount, it's just a few $100s beyond my financial comfort zone, it is a wake-up call prompting me to reevaluate my spending habits and prioritize my budgeting. Smart. Being over a year and a half out of college, congratulations, I found myself succumbing to the allure of aspirational purchases for my living space and indulging in unnecessary shopping sprees on platforms like Shein.
What's Shein?
It's like a cheap place to buy like clothes and like.
Oh, okay.
It's not bad. The shirt I was wearing last podcast was from Shein.
Is it China? Is it Chinese? Shein?
I think it's kind of Chinese.
Okay, cool. Whatever.
But it's no joke. I got like 5 shirts. It's like my favorite shirts. Like they fit me good.
Are they good quality stuff though?
Solid quality.
Okay, cool.
You kind of have to like, it's like with anything, you kind of have to like trial and error.
Okay. Cool. Whatever.
Additionally, the convenience of dining out, both lunch and dinner, has become a costly habit.
Been there.
Yep, same. As someone who grew up with limited financial resources, I realize I need to take a break. I need to break free from this cycle of excessive spending and focus on building a more financially secure future.
Been there.
My goal is to embrace a simpler lifestyle.
Been there.
Redirecting my focus towards saving and eventually venturing into the world of investing.
Been there.
Yeah, definitely. However, I recognize the importance of maintaining a social life, occasionally going out for dinner or clubbing with friends. This realization underscores the urgent need for me to adopt a more disciplined and effective budgeting strategy. So I'm reaching out to you for insight on how to approach budgeting, especially when striving for a simpler life. What role does budgeting play in achieving financial goals, and how do you manage to stick to your budget while enjoying social activity? I'm eager to hear your experiences and gather tips on creating a balanced budget that aligns with a more intentional and fulfilling lifestyle.
Nice.
From living with the overspending blues, knowing it's time to tighten the purse's screws, and hoping overcoming spending strife will simplify my life. I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
Well, that's awesome.
Thank you for writing in.
Yeah. Thank you for writing in. And your question actually prompted this entire podcast topic.
Yeah. We owe you some ad revenue.
We use some ad revenue. Yeah, good job. You get some.
You get some.
You can reach out to Dominic. You can go to his house and ask for the money, and he will give you that money.
Come find me.
Yeah, come find him.
Come find me.
Yeah. So there's 2 questions that they asked here, right? Number 1 is like, how does it make your life simpler? And number 2 is, was it kind of like, how do you do it?
How do you balance it?
How do you balance it?
Balance it, yeah.
So I guess first things first is like, I'm really glad to see that our listener here figured it out that they had a spending problem early on. Like what, a year and a half out of college?
I mean, they were
a few
only
$100s. Like, is a few $100s like it's a lot of money? Yeah, it's a lot of money,
Yeah.
but like it could be a lot worse. And unfortunately, when people fall into it's already a lot worse, they give up even ever trying to get better.
Yeah.
And things can always be better. Like I always want, like doesn't matter where you are. Maybe you're $10,000, shit, $100,000, whatever you're at. But you do need to start at some point and start trying to make it better, rather than just keep on. Like if you're already in the hole, like why continue dig?
Don't continue to dig.
Yeah.
You gotta dig out.
Yeah, you got to figure out a different way.
Absolutely.
So I'm really glad that you've realized that early on. So congratulations, and I'm not really sure you didn't. I don't think did they mention how they noticed it or.
They were saying that I found myself succumbing to the allure of aspirational purchases.
I'm gonna say it's because they've been listening to the Fi Guys and they realized that's probably it. It's because of us.
We're having a good influence on the people.
We're having good influence
For the people.
We're here for you.
We are actually here for you.
But to answer the first part of the question is like, how does it simplify my life? Budgeting has simplified it in so many ways, but for me, the biggest way it's helped is by reducing my stress and worry.
Yes.
Yes. Money for me, and you've actually mentioned it too, you didn't grow up with a lot. So maybe you have the same feelings, but money for me is security. Like without money, I feel like insecure and I feel like my freedom is being taken away because I know what it's like to basically be like paycheck to paycheck, or to feel like any calamity that comes out of even like as simple as like a tire going out or something like that is like the end of the world and you're done. You can't figure it out. Mm-hmm. So for me, having a budget, and I'm not really even the biggest budgeter, but having like a spending tracker, like knowing where my money is going and what's going on, it gives me the ability to know that if the worst does come to happen, I'm going to be okay. Because I've set up a plan beforehand, and I've also looked at that plan every single month or every 2 weeks or every week, and I've readjusted where I'm moving on my path towards achieving financial freedom and financial independence.
I love that.
Yep.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
What else?
I think that like knowing that you can comfortably handle your bills and even put some money aside for savings. And you said eventually you want to get into investing. I'd recommend doing that sooner rather than later, correct, especially because you're really young. You have the ability for compound interest to really get behind you. Only a year and a half out of college, probably in your 20s. Save a little bit now. It's going to become a lot more in the future. But for me, like it just, I don't know, maybe you say the same thing, but like tracking your spending just makes you feel like you're in control a lot more than, I don't remember what it was like to not track my money. Mm-hmm. But I do remember what it was like to get a paycheck and at the end of the month be like, where did it all go?
Yeah. It's definitely a quality of life update. Yeah. For sure. Getting rid of the stress of money, getting rid of the unknowingness of money and how much to spend. Because if you don't know how much to spend on X, then really any answer or any money you spend on it is kind of incorrect.
Yeah. In a way. If you have no idea how much you can spend on like clothes, then any amount that you spend is going to make you not feel good about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to have a clear picture of what's actually going on.
So you asked like, what's the bill? How do you do that? So that's what this whole podcast was dedicated to, different ways of doing it.
Yes.
If you want to be automated, I definitely recommend if you're on iOS or Apple, or you like the web-based Copilot. If you're Android, maybe use Monarch Money. If you want a free thing, go to Rocket Money.
Rocket Money, yeah.
Go to Rocket Money. For me, I still do everything in a Google Sheet that me and my wife have access only to that Google Sheet, and we do it all manually. Yeah. That works really well for me. But whatever you decide to do, no judgments here, and you just do it. Whatever you like, that's totally cool with me.
Yeah.
But for me, like when I get to do it manually, it really connects me more mindfully with my money every time I see it, because it's not just me, not just automatically tracking. I have to spend the money, then I have to go back in there and actually add it in there.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it gives me and my wife a chance every week to talk about it. And we talk about it really, we try to do like no judgment, and we're exploring it with curiosity for like, why'd you spend this money on this purse? Or like, why'd you do these things?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, especially when you're married, to
talk to your spouse
and come to it with curiosity and understanding rather than judging. Because people can feel that you're judging them.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to money, because it's so emotionally fraught.
Yes, it's very tense. I mean, your life is not based around it, but it's a major part of it. Without the money, I mean, we can't live.
Yeah, and I would say that it goes even beyond that. Like, what is money but a trade of your life energy? Mm-hmm. Like, in order for you to get money, you have to trade time, and your time is your life. You're trading your life for money. So that's the reason that like it's so fraught with so many emotions, because whenever you feel like you're buying things you don't want, or you know, money's not going the way that you want, it's like I'm trading my life and I'm not getting what I want out of it.
Yeah. Bingo.
So, you know, again, me and my wife, we focus much more on the spending tracking than we do on the budgeting aspect.
Yes.
We obviously set budget or like goals, but they're really, really rough. But yeah.
Yeah. Key takeaways: start investing sooner than later. Start budgeting or tracking.
Yeah, or tracking.
But, well, really, both.
Yeah.
Continue to learn. Continue to grow your money mindset, and know that this person is on the path. You know?
No, they're like 100% on the path. Yeah. They're doing a very, very good job. I mean, if anything, I would just say just keep it with it. And like I said earlier, sometimes there isn't an easy solution. You just need, if you know you need to do it, you just need to do it.
Yeah.
And you just need to get down, you need to get it done. And then once you start to like grow and you get better at it, you'll be able to see like what level of financial independence do I want. You're going to know what those numbers are, and that's going to help you stick to the path.
Yeah.
So stick to the path, celebrate the small wins, stay accountable. You know, if you need a financial advisor, you need a coach, someone like that, you can always reach out to me. I'm always happy to do that. If you don't want to pay somebody to do that, just get a friend involved in this stuff. Tell somebody about the Fi Guys and have them do it with you.
Yeah.
It's going to make it a lot better. You know, automate as much as you possibly can. Yeah. And then just remember, like, consistency in educating yourself and growing is really what's going to get you to where you want to be.
Yep. Got to have that growth mindset. Yeah. A lot of what we talk about on the podcast is basically revolving around that we get 1% better every day, or we try to be, you know, and improving your finances. I mean, this person's clearly taking the leap, as scary as it can be. They're taking control, and that's to be celebrated.
Yeah, I think one thing to talk about, because they said at one point, I just looked back up, they said that they're having trouble spending money, especially when also trying to be social with their friends. And I talked about this before, but I want to bring it up again, that the biggest expense in your life is lifestyle creep, and like you adding things into your life and your life becoming more expensive as your income goes up. So focus on yourself and what you want, and judging yourself against others is really what's going to keep you constantly stuck in debt. Like our entire monetary system is set up on consumerism, and us trying to, and every single marketing team, every single thing on social media, everything is trying to push you towards buying something to make yourself feel fulfilled. Yep. The only way to like really break free of that is to come above that and stop realizing that I don't need to compare myself to other people. If I'm happy with who I am, then you really don't need much. I've had times in my life that I've made a good amount of money. I've had times that I haven't made a good amount of money. And after I kind of like figured out financial independence, it really didn't matter how much money I was making or not making, because my cost of living was so low because I was happy with what I had, that when I was making more money, great, I was saving more money and bringing true financial independence closer to me. When I wasn't making enough money or a lot of money, it was okay because I was still making enough to make ends meet and still be fine.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Know thyself.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. Well, I hope we helped that person.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah. And thank you for writing in. Big love from Arizona.
Big love, and thank you for sometimes it's hard to come up with topics, but like when people like write in like that and like ask us, like, that's a topic.
That's a good one.
That's a good topic.
That's a good one. Well, we appreciate you. We thank you. And not just you. We thank all the listeners. We appreciate everyone who tunes in every week or every other week, depending on your schedule. And we just want to thank you guys.
Thank you. Let's get on the win of the week.
Win of the week. Alrighty. I'm going to say mine first.
Okay.
So, do you mind?
No, go for it.
Okay. Are you sure?
Mine's way cooler.
Yours is, well, dude, it's every week Chris just destroys me. He has better wins than me. Mine's like, I made peach cobbler this week. I meal prepped my cobbler. Chris is like, planned a trip to Japan. It's it's in the works. I'm like, but the cobbler, it's so much better. I think Japan beats cobbler.
Occasionally.
Depending on where you visit.
Yeah, but I would say this week we're probably neck and neck.
We're neck and neck on this one. So for this week, I got approved for. I'm just kidding. I start reading his. So what's your win of the week, Chris? It's like, I'm moving in. So my win of the week is I got the keys to my new place.
Yeah.
I got the keys to my new place.
Party at Dom's house.
Party at Dom's house. Lots of stuff going on. Planted some grass yesterday. Dad and I planted some grass yesterday. Yeah, hung some curtains, cleaned some floors, got some new light bulbs. Typical like move-in stuff. Still, getting it ready to be moved in, and then once you move in, it's like, well, now I gotta make this house
Yeah.
a home. So it's like,
The work never ends.
yeah, the work really never ends. Because I was talking to you before this, before the pod, and I was like, I'd really like to take out the vanities in the bathrooms. There's like 2 bathrooms, so it's not the craziest operation in the world, and like just do little like touch ups here and there, and like buy the right couch, and like it's funny where I'm at right now. There's a room in the house where it's kind of just like a podcast. We used to use it. We used to use it for the podcast, the first podcast we did.
Oh, maybe one day we'll do a podcast from your house.
Oh yeah, maybe. And like there's like little stuff in there, like the gift you got me for Christmas, and like I have a TV in there now, so it's like I'm excited to move in. I'm excited. A lot of bills to come though.
Yep.
A lot of bills. Might not see me on the pod for a while. Got to work off the bills,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm excited. That's my win of the week. Getting ready to move into the new house. Probably won't be for a couple weeks. Still gotta get it ready. But
Well, I'm excited for the housewarming
yeah,
party we're gonna have there.
me too. It's gonna be crazy.
Better make some cobbler. Make it on a weekend so I can eat cobbler with you. Even if you don't do it on a weekend, I'll break my diet to eat cobbler.
You know what? I'll make cobbler, and I'll make homemade. I'll make cobbler, and I'll make homemade ice cream.
That sounds good.
It sounds
I
bomb.
haven't had homemade ice cream.
What's like your go-to ice cream?
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
Pretty boring.
I make it killer vanilla.
All right, my win of the week.
Your win of the week.
So my win of the week's pretty cool. As you guys know, I'm very big into like credit card hacking and pretty much all things finance. Most of my life revolves around finance stuff.
I thought you were gonna say all things hacking, and I'm like, who is this guy?
A lot of my stuff does have to do with like kind of like little hacks. I'm like trying to get 1% better. 1% better. Let's put that like aggregation of marginal gains. 1% better. But so I recently it was time to get a new credit card because my wife and I have a bunch of trips this year. Just in a few weeks, we're going to be going to Mexico City. Then after that, we're going to be going to Portland. And then after that, we're going to go to Japan. Then after that, we're going to go to Bora Bora. Then after that, we're going to go to St. Thomas. And that's all like the first 6 months.
That's a solid schedule.
And then at the end of the year, my wife wants to go to, she was talking about going to New York and staying at like the Grand Hyatt or something like that.
I think I've heard of
like
that.
near, it's like a 5-star hotel near like Park Central or near like Central Park.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my wife. Like, she does her thing. But it's not like yes, we're very blessed, but it's not like we're just dropping money like bosses. We optimize the hell out of it with our credit card points. So it was time for a new credit card because in this month, in January, we had to pay the final balance on our Bora Bora trip, which is roughly like $10,000.
Okay.
So you can spend $10,000 and be like, I spent $10,000 and I'm sad about it. Or you can try to also like ways to optimize it. So I applied for the Amex Business Gold Card.
Yeah.
That card has a $10,000 spend in the first 3 months, which is usually pretty difficult. Like that's
10K is a lot.
yeah, it's $3,333 each month on a credit card. I normally don't spend that much on a credit card, but I knew that we had this big purchase coming up of paying off Bora Bora. So I applied for the card. I was actually able to get a crazy intro offer. Right now, intro offer for the Amex Business Gold is $70,000.
Okay.
I was able to get it for $130,000 through one of the little things I'm in. So 130,000 points. I roughly value those at 1 cent or 2 cents per point. So that's $1,600 of value. Given that I spend $10K in a month, which I already did.
You were gonna spend it.
I was going to spend it anyways.
Yeah.
To favor for Bora Bora. So, and then the annual fee on that card is $295. So basically, I spent $295 and I got back $2,600. So I made $2,300 because I was already going to spend the $10,000. Had I not been spending the $10,000, then the math doesn't work out. But I was already going to spend the $10,000. So those points are going to go towards us getting to stay in Nairobi, Kenya in 2025 for like a week-long safari vacation.
That's cool. That's sick. You gonna see some lions?
That's hopefully the plan.
That is the ideal.
Yeah, the place is pretty cool. It even has the place in Nairobi. It even gives you like there's like a room you can go inside there with all these cameras and like equipment, and they let you borrow it.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah,
that's
you can
nice.
like borrow all their stuff.
That's
and, like,
nice. Yeah.
It's pretty cool, but you know we live a very blessed life, and that's
100%.
cool. But it's all by design, and a lot of it started with like tracking and like getting better with money slowly over time. It was not like we're in debt. I want to go to Nairobi. And we're going to do it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of years, like, and it's funny if I go back in my tracking and I show you like what our budget looked like in 2018, very different than it is today. And it's all just that aggregation of marginal gains getting slightly better every single day.
Yeah.
That gets you to where you want to be.
100%. I love that. Well, I think that is it for our win of the week. I hope you guys had a win of the week in your world as well. If you did, let us know in the comments. Yeah. We love to hear good comments. If you're leaving hateful comments, we'll see you in the streets. So be prepared. You know, Chris knows jiu-jitsu, and you know, I'll film it. So anyway, but
there's like a Five Guys fight club.
Let's go. We don't talk about it though.
No, we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it.
So guys, please like, subscribe, tune in next week. Yeah, we're going to be talking about, I guess, my life.
Yeah, so I love it. I'm excited.
I'll give that a try. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do for Five Friday feedback, though, because I'm definitely not going to recap it. It's already going to be difficult enough to talk about.
Well, I'll have, like, proper questions for you.
Okay, cool.
And I think that'll be solid.
With that. And then remember the fee for the show. If you guys found any value, which hopefully today you did, because I went back and, like, we went through Copilot and all these things for you, so you don't have to. So hopefully you enjoy that. So tell a friend, bring someone along for this journey, because when you do bring someone along for the journey and you guys are tracking, you guys can talk about it and like compare notes and like gamify this as much as you can. Like, oh, you spent that much money on eating out. Well, I spent this much money on eating out. I'm going to reach 5 so much faster than you. Like, and that's what's going to really help, I think, a lot and make this community what we want it to be. People celebrating each other's wins and getting us all to financial freedom, financial independence sooner. So we can all live the life that we want to and not have money hold us back from living our best lives.
Bingo. I love it. With that being said, hope you guys have a wonderful week, wonderful weekend, and we'll see you in the next one.
Later.
Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.